Listen, I know, I'm late. Not only am I late, hundreds and thousands of videos has already been made on the topic of Danileigh and the baby. Um, and I feel like even tarot card and oracle readers have already joined in the subject, but nonetheless, I definitely wanted to do my own reading and give a little insight, not necessarily on the current situation, because I think that we kind of, all are on the same page. There's so much that has been said and so much that has been revealed. But what I want to do is throw it back. I want to throw it back to before the baby, not the baby, but their baby girl. I want to throw it back and see what was their relationship like before now. Because one of the major topics concerning the situation was certainly about the baby statement that she was a glorified side chick. Yeah, and that was something that just completely caught wind and twisted all in the blogs. And he totally denied the validity of their relationship and denied that they were even in a serious relationship. So I think the interesting thing with tarot and oracle readings is that we can look in the past and we can definitely ask for details concerning situations. And that is exactly what I did. I think that so much in the beginning, it was so messy that perhaps, me helping the public a little bit dissect the feelings or lack thereof between the baby and Danileigh and just how this union began. In the beginning, it was more of a sexual connection. As far as the baby was concerned, he was drawn to her sexually. However, I will state that he doesn't think that she is a ugly woman, but this is not typically his type. He also feels as though he has had more aesthetically attractive women before. That's not even really important. But just so that you know, the attraction was stronger on her part than his. Now, the reasons why he spent a lot of time with her is because he did like, her positivity and, when she was positive. I'll get to when she wasn't a little later, but he liked the way that she adored him. Another thing is, he does not like being alone. He doesn't really like being alone to deal with like his own like thoughts and stuff. Like he likes to keep it moving. He likes to be, doing things and interacting with people. So it's not so much that he likes a lot of different people around him all at once, but he definitely likes to be around people. And if you have a woman that is, she's giving, I guess what you would say, good sex, like the sexual chemistry was there, the vibes were there. It's just, the connection, like emotional connection, spiritual connection, that was not there for him, and it still is not. And the reason why this connection, like emotional and physical connection, is not there is because there is a thing about her that irritates him just a little bit, just a little minor irritation, is that she seemed to be one way in private, but presenting another way in public. And that was just a little bit irritating for him. But he understands, like, some people are not always on, or just being in, I guess you would say Hollywood, being in the entertainment business, how some people are different behind the scenes. And he just took it as that. Another thing is, there seems like to be like some hangups when it comes to culture, or it comes to just some of his interests, some of the things that he's experienced, some of the things that he's done and went through coming up, that she cannot relate to. And a lot of that has to do with the differences in the race. And another thing that uh, bothered him a little bit about her was that he felt like she was a try-hard. He definitely felt like she was presenting one way, but there was really no connection with that representation. And he also felt like she was kind of mimicking or biting off of him, like kind of like, not like, more like like she was somewhat of his protege, although she wasn't. But just some of his gestures, some of the things that he would say, and mimicking some of the things that he would do, and just kind of what it appeared to be was forcing, not forcing, but trying to fit some, like, herself, or forge herself in his life, or even like in his brand or his image, kind of like when you see me you see him type of thing. And that was irritating for him, and is something that actually turned him off to her, because then the motives, her motive was in question. What is your agenda? I will say that on her end, that her agenda, her motives were different than what he speculated around this time when things got, a little patchy. But in general, if they're not, in a serious conversation, or they're not doing anything in depth, they're pretty much good. If they're surface level type of surface level type of contact or conversation, in small talk conversation. It's when those deep and intimate type of conversations, or when there's something that would cause depth, that's when the wires kind of get crossed. And it's not so much that she shuts down, it's more so that he shuts down. And some of the reasons why is because he doesn't believe that she completely understands him, and she doesn't. She doesn't. And let me just say, she has tried. She really has. But again, wires, like, the frequency just does not, they just don't connect that way. For her, there's a lot of things that she likes about him. Most of it is her physical attraction to him. She does like not only how he looks, but just the way that he moves, and the sound of his voice, and it's a little bit of infatuation. But anyway, the sound of his voice, she likes. Hell, even the way that he eats, like, she watches him, she picks up on things that he likes and enjoys, and she really does believe that she's got him, like, she understands him, and that they have a bond, which she didn't come to this conclusion on her own. She didn't, just make up this fairy tale story in her mind. And yeah, there were definite signs that he just was not feeling her in the same manner that, she would have, liked, in the way that she was feeling him. Yeah, there were signs, but there was also a lot of time spent together. He even told her that he loved her, and there was moments when he would reach out to her and seek her. So, for her, it's like it was definitely a real relationship. Now, in the beginning, she was supposed to be something in the dark. She was supposed to be very private, and he thought that there was an understanding about the privacy part. Like, they were not supposed to be in, public. But she definitely, this is another thing that made him side eye her, is that in the midst of them, and this is like, she moved at a very fast pace, but he didn't pump the brakes, but she moved at a very fast pace. So she found out that, and this is what was in the cards. So basically, what she find out, now she been knew, who didn't know that he had it, baby, everyone knows that, but she found out that there were some intimacy between Mimi and the baby. And that is when she first had her interaction with Mimi. And I will say this, Mimi was slightly empathetic, but she stated to Danny, I did not know about you. Now, shortly after that, and, shortly after the disconnection between Mimi and the baby, that's when a lot of the public details about their relationship, and that's when a lot of their, that's when I guess you could say they broke out publicly, because he was no longer doing his thing in the dark. He was not, being a player from the Himalaya and getting away like he was before with having the best of both worlds. Danileigh put a stop to that. And the reasons why she did that is because she wanted the truth to come out, and she definitely wanted to sever that tie that he had between him and Mimi, sever that so that she can be in a very real and authentic relationship. And she thought, capital T, she thought that that is what would transpire. And as you know, it did not. So, after messaging Mimi, getting in contact with her and telling her about herself, she did disclose that she loved him, and she also revealed how hurt she was, and finding that they were, in fact, interacting sexually and, stuff like that. So the cat was out the bag. Danny was out the bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like around the same time that she revealed herself to Mimi. It's like she just threw. It's like things just manifested and moved so heist and fast that while Mimi was caught up with dealing with that situation, then bam. Oh, Danileigh and the baby are together. Oh, look at the baby mama. She's upset, or there's some beef going on between the baby. It was not as strategic as it appeared, but yeah, it ended up working out the way that it worked out. It panned out the way it panned out. Now, the baby at that point was like, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was definitely lying to the both of them, and he still does. And the reasons why, and it's not so much a super, like, let me just tell, like, these complete fairy tales. It's more so when you don't reveal the truth, or you don't tell when someone is asking you a question, you do not disclose information. It's the same as lying. And then there are some just bold-faced lies that he would tell. Not only to Danileigh, but to Mimi as well, and other women, because there's not the only two women. But yeah, at first Danileigh thought that neither of these women nor his baby mamas would be an issue for her in their relationship. And partly it's because Mimi stepped back for a little bit, and she felt like, okay, this woman understands that this is a real relationship, and blah blah. So there was a big relief at first. So people think that, she was very competitive, very angry, very jealous of Mimi, but that was not how it was in the very beginning. In the beginning, it was, to Danny's understanding, that Mimi wouldn't leave him alone. Okay. And it was based on what the baby was telling her about Mimi. So in her mind, she's like, okay, so she's basically still in love with him. And she thinks that, things are going to, like, still, like, she's just waiting for him to turn around and so that they can be together. But the cards revealed something very different. See, the baby feels like he's in debt to Mimi. I don't know exactly why, and it's not just because that's the mother of his child. He feels that he owes her something, and he also feels that there's always going to be a spot open in his heart for her, and it's not basically because of the child either. I guess you would say there was a emotional connection, which everybody downgrades. Everybody, like, downplays emotional connections. They are very much required and needed in a functional relationship, and to have a bond with someone. So there is some type of, either it's karmic debt. I think that's probably what it is, but he feels a need to make sure that somehow, some way, they are tethered, and he feels like it's like some type of debt. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes his arrogance and his selfishness stands in the way of doing right. Deep down, he feels if he were to lose it all, if he were to lose everything, Mimi would still be in his corner somehow, some way, and if she's not in his life for what he has, and that means something to him. Now, that makes make it sound like, oh, he's, he has a heart, he's good, he's such a loving soul, right? But like I said, his selfishness and his ego gets in the way of truly expressing and showing appreciation for not just her but other people in his life. You can't just slap 10 bands on a situation and think that it's going to fix something, because it's not. Or you can't, buy your way out of certain situations. And, wells do run dry. And he understands that. I have to say, if there's one thing I can compliment the baby on, is he completely understands just how fast it is to lose something. And he understands how phony and how fake the industry is. He understands that. And it's a lot of people that get broken and get very hurt by the industry. And this is why, for the most part, he does keep the same people that he knew before everyone knew the baby. He tends to keep these same people around because he understands that the industry is so phony. And the reasons why Danileigh, the reason why Danileigh was able to get so close to him is because he felt that she was authentically in his corner. See, it matters to him. Now, that aspect matters, right? But the issue with having someone in your corner, she could just be a friend. She could have just even been friends with benefits, and he would have much preferred that, actually. But she wanted to be with him, and he wanted someone authentically in his corner. And another thing that I don't know if anyone, haven't noticed, He does not like being alone. I said this in the beginning of the video. He does not like being alone. I'm talking about like not just relationship wise. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the house, in the hotel room by himself. He likes the company of someone. And he prefers the company of people that are authentically in his corner. Does he mistreat people that are authentically in his corner? Not everyone. But for Danileigh, because respect was not established, because she did not draw boundaries like a child. I mean, he named himself the baby for a reason. Like a child, he ran amok. He fucking ran amok. And that's just what happened. Dani, she was never supposed to be his woman. And this is something that he allowed to spiral out of control, because even with like him attempting to draw lines, even with him attempting to establish boundaries, he was still sending mixed signals. Again, when you're constantly spending time with someone, you're generous with them when it comes to gifting. You're being in their spaces, in their face, a lot of affection, right? But for him, in his mind, Dani does not know him enough to love him. Dani does not even relate to him on it, even core principles or just even culturally. It's just not there. Certain things really do matter to the baby that seem very minuscule to Dani. Her connections, what she feels, is more emotional, and she believes that little petty things don't matter. Okay? She feels like she knows this man, but he feels like she doesn't. And the one thing that he understands about her is that she wants him, but he feels like she wants him in a way that isn't him. And, you know, in the far back of his mind, he feels like eventually he will end up back with Mimi. But for right now, he's just doing him. And I think as many times as he tried to set boundaries but didn't, he selfishly wanted the affections and wanted that, I guess you would say, down as chick. Okay? He wanted that in his corner. And like a puzzle, she just didn't fit. And rather than, going like, just laying it out there as gently as he can, he would be very harsh about it. And he has definitely stated to her his true feelings, and that he did not feel some the same ways that she felt. He has expressed that. And at this time, because there was so much back and forth, she just didn't really take it seriously. And if a man tells you once that he does not want you, or that he doesn't love you in the way that you love him, and even if he's being as gentle as he can, as if you were a baby bird, and you would think, oh, he does care for me, he's just afraid or something. If he says once, believe him. Believe him. Or you could end up in a situation where you get publicly humiliated, and his lack of care, his lack of love for you will be put on a public display. You cannot take these images back. You cannot take these moments back. But it's insanity. And the reasons I say that is because even with knowing that he does not truly and deeply love her, loops, loops, he was put her back in rotation because she's going to make herself available. So that is the second thing that I want to stress, is that I do foresee another child coming between them two. She is not over the situation. She's not. In fact, she is contemplating interviews and telling her side of the story. Because one thing that really bothered her is him invalidating their relationship. And the reasons why is not just because of public opinion, but because this is something that Mimi has, I wouldn't say taunted her with, but suggested and spoke to her about. You don't know him. You don't know him. And he will always be tethered to her. So, she wouldn't got herself pregnant. Talking about Danny. She wouldn't got herself pregnant. And I guess she figured this would be a way of tethering herself as well. I'm not saying that that was her thought process, but, you know, speculation. And as you can see, it has not worked. Now the question is, does Mimi love the baby? She does. Does she want to be with him? No, she doesn't. This is the thing. She doesn't want to see him with nobody else. And the reasons why she doesn't want to see him with nobody else is she said, look, I done shared it my tears. I done been drugged down in the mud. And I've been hurt by this man. Why should someone else come and get the best of him? Why should someone come and get the best version of him and get happiness and get peace when he could not give that to me? And it's not something that is in the frontal cortex. Like, it's not something that's on top of her mind. It's something that's subconsciously there in her. And in her mind, what she tells herself, because that whole, if that's because it's not so much if she can't have him, it's more so, I don't want you because you've hurt me, but I also don't want you to be with anyone else. This is a toxic situation. And part of the toxicity is, one, the baby has no intentions on doing right by her in a way that, would prevent him from doing him, which is monogamy, right? He has Danileigh in rotation along with other hoes. Well, I shouldn't call Danileigh a hoe, but with hoes, okay? So selfishly, he just wants what the fuck he wants. He wants what he wants. And Mimi understands that there is an understanding and a real honesty between the two. But when it comes down to it, she does not want him if he is going to hurt her. And she feels like he is. So the desirability is low. But the question is, why even continuously entertain the situation? Is because both Danileigh and Mimi, they're caught in this loop. And nobody, first of all, there's no prize in this game that they have and that they're playing with the baby. And Mimi is not playing consciously. She's playing subconsciously into the BS. And it's not, let me put it this way. If you would have went through it, if anybody would have went through what she went through and had to process some of the things that she's processed, you will understand why it's very hard for her to let him go. But people have, criticized her harshly. And I do understand her. And I think that for the most part, she is a gentle soul. Now, because she might be a little hood, but she is a gentle soul. And there is some anger there and there is some resentment. But she's not presenting that because in the end, she doesn't want this loop to end. Okay? She doesn't want to be out of the loop. Do you understand what I'm saying? She is not comfortable with the idea of him moving on when there is love left for her in his heart and love in her heart for him. It's a very sad but understandable situation. In the end, and sadly, the baby will finally get what he wants. It's for this relationship, this back and forth to go dark, to be private. Danileigh would definitely try to, if she cannot bounce back positively, if she cannot bounce back as far as the media is concerned, she is definitely going to want to keep this under wraps. If she can't find a way to patch this up, this image of her, if she can't find a way to patch that up and dress it nice, when she interacts and when she starts back talking to the baby, it will be private for the most part at first. And then, of course, naturally, the cat will be let out the bag again because I foresee another baby. But she's going to want her presence in his life to be known, for the same reasons she wanted her presence to be known in the beginning. And that's because she wants to be this man's main girl. And he has shown signs to her that it could be a possibility. He has led her to the conclusion that it is possible for that relationship to work.